Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome. Welcome tonight for a continuation on a discussion that we had last week and to ask ourselves a question that may make a lot of us feel uncomfortable or not get the complexity of the question. The question is the title of the show. Is Big U institutionalized? So, a lot of people may know people who have been incarcerated or may have been incarcerated themselves. And for when a person is incarcerated for a long time, you you tend to see them definitely somebody who deals with a bunch of recidivism and they keep going back and forth to jail. There is a phrase that a lot of people say that you have to ask yourselves, is an individual institutionalized? So many times, like I said, we know people in our community who have been getting in trouble basically all their lives, back and forth in jail, whether they are addicted to a substance or not. They just keep going back and forth. And you'd be like, damn, that's like your second home. And the question or the statement is always asked, is an individual institutionalized? So when you look at Big U, an individual who has been back and forth to jail most of his life, and he has been on the street for the last 15 years. And the more and more you hear about this case, the more and more you understand the complexity of this case and what he allegedly has been involved with for the last 15 years. Big U has basically been treating free society like he's still in the big yard, like he's still behind a wall, like he's still behind bars. I'm going to just read some things to you before the brothers come on, and they're here. What is institutionalized? Institutionalization refers to the process to which by which individuals become accustomed to the routines, norms, and social structures of an institution, such as jail or prison. When someone is institutionalized from being in jail, it means that they have adapted to the controlled environment of incarceration, which can impact their behavior, mindset, and ability to function outside of that setting. Like I said, just because a person is in free society, that does not mean that they're still not institutionalized. It's very important that we understand that because it's a lot of us in free society that have came from trauma, dealt with trauma, that we have a lot of us have a mental illness. And I don't say that lightly. I say that because a lot of us that's running around here are dealing with untreated mental illness. So some of the key aspects of institutionalization is dependency on structure. Individuals may rely on the strict routines and rules of the institution, making it difficult to adjust to life outside where they have more freedom and less supervision. Social skills, prolonged exposure to the institutional environment can hinder the development of maintenance and social skills necessary for navigating everyday life, leading to challenges in interpersonal relationships. Mental health, institutionalization can affect mental health as the stress of confinement in the environment can lead to anxiety, depression, or other psychological issues. Reintegration challenges. Reintegration challenges. Upon release, institutionalized individuals may struggle with reintegrating into society, facing obstacles such as finding employment, housing, and rebuilding relationships. Overall, the experience of being institutionalized can have profound, lasting effects on a person's behavior and outlooks once they re enter into society. So, we know from last week's show, and we did I believe we did a great show. We had a great conversation. You guys in the chat was great. We know from that show that the Debo character was inspired by Big U. The Debo character was inspired by Big U. So this character that was inspired by Big U was basically glamorized in our culture because most people did not even couldn't even separate the actor Tiny from being Debo. So when we discuss this institutionalization and was he institutionalized? He absolutely was. He was the mythical character. And earlier this week, it was a superseding indictment. And we played the video of Big U. I'll have it again, and we'll probably go over it again. Uh, the superseding indictment basically said that based off of that video that he said before he was turning himself in, that this video was made to intimidate, to tamper the jury pool, to do all types of other tactics that he has been known to do. And we need to take a deeper understanding and have this conversation. The brothers are here, Chef C, as well as Negro Knight. And, what's up, brothers?
Hey, how's it going, man? You're kind of hitting to some of the areas that I pay attention to and sometimes advocate for, depending on the course and stuff in criminal justice. And you're touching upon the side that never gets addressed in criminal justice books. I would say by mainstream society, they don't look at the exoneration rate. They don't look at the mental disorders that people pick up while they're incarcerated, and especially if they're innocent. Some of these brothers and sisters locked up behind the wall, of course they're gonna have a breakdown, and then not having the family support, not having the loved one support, arguing on the phones, may not even have their necessities to live in that environment called prison. Um, that sounds like hell to me. And our brothers and sisters are it can be mind blowing.
Mm,
So I definitely want to have this conversation, put some scholarship to it, and definitely come up with solutions. We don't need big U's. We need big U's that's going to be in the in our pocket, advocating for us, checking other people outside of our community, not in our community like that. You know, I don't know. I'm kind of disappointed.
mm. Chef C, what's going on, bro?
Peace. Can y'all hear me loud and clear? Can y'all hear me?
Absolutely, brother.
Yes,
Absolutely.
sir.
So salute, man. Salute to everybody that's checked in with us, man. Salute to Q spearheading this thing up tonight for us, man. And I was very curious to see your inspiration behind this particular topic, brother Q. You haven't been a man who've spent some time back in the day. I can tell that this hits pretty home for you. But the institutionalization of a big U, it mentally, we find ourselves, well, mentally, a lot of folks just can't help but repeat the same patterns from before, whether they spent time in jail or not. It becomes a crippling mindset, And again, even with the institutionalization of a people, that is still a product of its actual environment. Because we can say that the institution itself is an environment as well. So Big U being a product of that, I'm not surprised that they decided to throw the entire book. Well, they're throwing a good amount of stuff with the book at this man.
Mhm.
Should we as a people um, feel any remorse for the institutionalized Big U? Uh, I don't think so, man. Is Big U institutionalized? Absolutely. And you know what? I can guarantee you that the people um, who are surrounding him have are institutionalized as well because they follow up under him, right? They
Mm,
say Big U sat outside. It is alleged that when the jukes was going on, people was getting shaken down and getting ran up on. Big U's the big homie sitting outside, letting all the little minions do the dirty work on some
mm.
big perm shit.
And, and
So,
and 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 that, Chef C, is the underlining factor that I don't think that a lot of us understand, that his level of reputation, his level of alleged criminality, it's, I hate to say it, and I always try to say some things are the subculture of what we call the black community, but this level of predatorial criminality is woven in our culture.
agreed.
And it's unfortunate because when I was talking to Brother Negro earlier, Brother Negro said something that I pushed back on. And when he explained the angle of why he said what he said, I have no choice but to agree with him now. This man and what he has been representing, at least for the last 15 years, is a criminal predator. He's an individual who should be charged with a hate crime.
Mm,
He's an individual who has purged the very black community that we all come from.
right.
He was not making no ethnicity other than his own check in. Now, we know most people who commit crimes in their close proximity. This blows the myth of white on white crime, black on black crime. However, he single handedly, with what he is alleged to have done and what he has admitted to doing, he literally leached off of people who looked like him. And he should be charged with a hate crime. Brother Negro, what is your thoughts?
Wow, man, that was a 180. I wouldn't. Okay, that's good that you kind of see it from the perspective of where I was getting at. Why I viewed it as a hate crime, and stuff of that nature. And one of the examples that me and the brother was talking about, and also I got to push back on you lightly. The community did not support. They liked the character in the role because he was funny, but they did not culturally support him because nobody likes a bully. People were cheering for Craig when he picked up that brick and knocked Day Day or whatever his name is, Debo, in his head. Nobody likes a bully. So that's one thing I do want to highlight and make clear, like for what I notice about about our community. We don't co-sign people who's going around picking on people for no reason, because we're one of the most picked on people in society. So that's one thing I've noticed, that as a cultural group, we don't really do that like that. So the second thing is that this big U character, right? Or this brother here. I'm saying it loosely. Like he was doing he was doing black crimes against our community. He was extorting our wealthy artisans, right, and people who are successful, and extorting them in the public, embarrassing them. No different from a white supremacist from my perspective. So I had a deep issue, and the analogy that I shared with the brother is that there was a Chinese mob or whatever, triads, whoever they were. They were doing B&Es on Asian homes, right? They knew exactly where the Asian people in their community hid their money at because they were Asian too. So those people took their skills and they ripped off their people based off the carnal knowledge that they had on their community. That is a hate crime. Just because you're the same race as the person don't mean that you're not operating in hate, and doesn't mean that you're extorting and harming our community, no different from white supremacy. And I think that we need to have an honest conversation when it comes to criminality, and why are we always continually punching down on our people? I've never rarely see us punch up to these white supremacists, these Latinos, um, these Chinese or Asians, these people out here smacking our people up at different stores and different things. But I don't see them. I don't see I don't see the Big U brothers packing up the A-Haul van and riding out like the A team on that. These are the same guys. From my perspective, Big U is probably the same guy, like a shitty cuz, a guy who will kill a black man who's trying to do right by his community. He's the type the government will send in and pay for, and he'll do it free of charge. He just want to do it to get a name. That's what I'm talking about. The criminality. It doesn't make sense because it's not empowering us, and it's not even empowering him. It's making him more of a target as well as our community, and he's doing us a disservice. Because the real reason why Crips and the Bloods was created was to preserve and protect our community, and he violated that. So that's just some of the tip of the iceberg of what I was thinking about, and just seeing the anti-black, the anti-Negro behavior, and stopping another black person from getting money. If that ain't white supremacy, I don't know what is.
Well. Let me throw something out here real quick. Okay. Um, in your words, brother Negro, I got to push back a little bit here. Pause. Um, is it our culture or is it not? Because again, you know, in one instance, we don't do that. We don't like to see people get, done dirty that are less than us, or. And then on the opposite side, there's a Debo, and there's always been a Debo in every neighborhood, particularly our neighborhood. So is it our culture or is it not our culture? Right? And Debo has always had little minions who follow him. So again, even with the little minions co-signing the BS because they're quote unquote afraid of Debo, they are complicit. So is it our culture or is it not? Right? So I have to like for me, man, I look at a Debo, aka a Big U, and I say, who done it better? Eminent domain and redlining or Big U? Who's put more siege to the black community? A Big U or a Debo all around the country in our neighborhoods? Or the government coming through and taking it or running a railroad track through it? Either way, our communities still get terrorized, still get bulldozed, and there's still people who have to quote unquote check in. I grew up in a neighborhood at one particular time where I don't know where this family is, but at one time there was a family called the Larrys. Right, the Larrys people afraid to go out at a certain time in those neighborhoods. Now, the Larry family was about 13 deep, 13 to 15 deep. Okay. And that Larry family only owned one property, but they made people check in on different blocks, which was the wildest thing I ever heard of. Later, that family then got it together and slowly started pulling back after a few of those Larry brothers was picked up and the sisters were picked him up and sent him off for a few years. So now the neighborhood was a little okay with just going about their business. But again, and I'm talking about this is during the time when I was a little kid. So is it our culture or is it not our culture? And and when I look at it and I say, yeah, there's always been big U's, quote unquote big U's, people with the names of tiny when they're actually these muscular dudes, or you had the neighborhood girl, home girl, who was always fighting, even what we still do till this day, fighting each other in the neighborhoods, pulling wigs out, pulling bonnets off, huh? So again, like realistically, institutionalized, is Big U institutionalized? Well, let's take a look. Let's take a different look at that. What type of, what environment of institutionalization curated a Big U and alike?
Mm. When you look at what they call, and anybody could look this up and research this, when they got this thing in when you're just studying criminal behavior, it's called the continual of criminality. Starts off with petty crimes, and then it graduates
Mm,
to more heinous acts. And when you look at, like I said, when you look at this individual's life and what he has been able to do in the community, his influence reaches professional basketball players, entertainers. This man had a podcast called Checking In. Now, if a former gang member who wants to separate himself from the life that he used to lead, and checking in is a phrase and a mode and a behavior that has been known for decades in that area, why would he name his podcast Checking In?
because outside of that, he offers no shock value to the algorithm.
Yes. So
Okay.
when you look at the continuum, you're right, Chef C, right on time. When you look at the continuum of criminality, this is why I said that this individual, though he was in what we call a free society, his criminality never stopped. And this is what the government has against him. And what's really sad is that, and I understand what Negro was saying when he talked about him, but in a sense, our communities glorified this. He was in our communities for 15 years with carte blanche
Right. Right.
doing this type of behavior until, and let's be honest, most communities are policed by their own. The famous phrase is police yourself so others don't have to.
Mm,
And it took murders of other known rappers, where Big U has always been accused of having some stuff with Nipsey. And let's be honest, Nipsey was in a gang. And
right.
he's not charged with Nipsey's murder. But he got attention because of the issues that they had within what they're into and with their into that gang. So people felt as though he had something to do with it. And it took outside authorities, it took the federal government and these individuals who has been on YouTube, Instagram, and all this media self-incriminating themselves for the federal government to say enough is enough. Y'all ain't deal with him. And when I mean y'all ain't deal with him, we should have checked this nigga.
Mm.
We don't check these dudes. We glorify them in our hoods. We say, oh, it ain't going to be me. I'm just going to pay homage. I'm going to buy the basketball and the football uniforms for the kids. You checking in, nigga. You doing the same thing, whether he's applying physical pressure on you or you think if you don't do this, you going to see the big homie.
Hey, who was
Yeah,
Bishop? Who was Bishop, Q? Huh? Come on, man. Let's go there. If we gonna go there with it, Bishop sponsored the league, the
Yeah.
neighborhood rock, the Rucker League, the little basketball league, right? He had a team in it, right? While he was slicing dudes up after the basketball game was over, Bishop was slicing folks up. Huh? Cats still glorified Tupac. Yeah. Yeah. Listen, man. It's that crab in the barrel thing. Right? If we really look at that, right? There is, to simplify it, misery loves company. Misery loves company. And the moment you decide to go a little too far out, you have to deal with that temporary backlash of, oh, you think you better than us now. All right. So maybe Big U, in some regard, decided to try to do that until the little YN said, yeah, OG, you can't really pull that over here anymore. So then he's faced with another situation where he's got to make a choice: stay in or get all the way out. We
can I
see what he
chime in?
chose. Go ahead.
Yeah, can I chime in on this? See, my thing is, I think the community. I don't think we glorify him as much as you think we do, brother Q. I think we terrify him. I put him in the clan role. That's how I really see this situation here. And he's getting federal support, allegedly federal backing because he's probably allegedly an informant. So if you do tattletale on him, if you do drop a dime on the greater good of the community, they're gonna end up shooting up your crib because they're gonna some cop at the institution is gonna put your number on the jumbotron stream.
Negro.
Yeah,
Negro.
yes.
Down the street from me, if it's a loose dog and you can't tame him, you put him down. Nobody from his community put him down.
Mm.
They co-signed this. They glorified it.
I'm going to point to the algorithm, brother. And I wanted to touch upon that aspect too, because we already know that on X is anti-black and anti-Negro. You can't speak positive about Negro. They'll censor you out for that. But you can say the N-word. You can kill a black person online. They'll play it over and over. So all this anti-black behavior that he was exhibiting, that was good for the algorithm. Then now once it's in the algorithm, everybody's clicking and liking and is okay and supporting.
Negro. We're not talking about respectfully. None of that shit matters. What matters is the black community allowed this to go on for 15 years. The black community allowed this to go on. No one else. Whether he had federal protection, they allowed this. This man was running around with a predator like Puffy, who was a sexual deviant for 30 years and people knew. And what happens in our community is once a person gets arrested, then everybody turns their back on them, whether they're guilty or not guilty. This man had celebrities knowing what he was doing.
Right. That part.
He was known as the guy you have to get clearance from to move around. This is co-signing criminality. And I can't look from my experience of life. I dig it. I love that shit. I used to love that street shit. But no way in hell I'm co-signing it today. And I can't co-sign it. Because you know what? I know what comes with it. If you ain't ready to hurt someone, be behind a wall, get out the way. Because that's the type of mentality that you better have. This man was a predator. A predator. He preyed on weaker people. For 15 years that we know about. Like I said, just think if all the movies that have ever been created, and you find out that a character in the movie was basically inspired by an individual. Now, whether the individual was liked in the movie, when you hear this, that he was that Debo was inspired by him, with all due respect to Ice Cube, the inspiration for Debo was a freaking criminal, a predator of the community, a leech of the community. These are our heroes. We glorified this. We allowed this man to run around with carte blanche for 15 years, and until others from the outside had to shut his shit down. That man knows this. Like I said when we played the video last week, that man know it's over, y'all. He knows. When a man tells you, no matter how strong their faith is, when he's telling other people to pray for them, to pray for him and his family, he knows it's over. It's over. He's an urban legend, a hood legend. He will be somebody that the FBI will study to use as a criteria of what not to allow to happen again. John Wayne Gacy, he studied as a criminal behavior. These people are studied. A long time ago, I'm just give you guys, Chef, just give me a second. Give me some grease for a second. A long time ago, I was privy to some information. A lot of people thought that, what happened with racial profiling. In New Jersey, racial profiling was true. And that's where it happened. That's where it started, was racial profiling. However, what they do have in every state is what they call a drug dealer profile. The drug dealer profile in New Jersey at a time, Chef C remembers, and Chef C knows it, but Chef C sees it, and he has nothing to do with it. You want me to tell you what the drug dealer profile in New Jersey was at one time? Tim's, blue jeans, white t-shirts, and the dreadlocks.
That's a fact.
That was the drug dealer profile in New Jersey. If you
Constructs
had those
though, particularly
descriptions,
constructs.
constructs, if you had those descriptions, the police automatically, you fit a profile. So we need to understand that when we see the authorities do things, that you fit a profile. And this individual, he fit a profile before he even came home. And he came home and continued the behavior. And we didn't say nothing. We didn't say nothing. We didn't do nothing. He terrorized the community. Not my community. He terrorized his own community. Think about that. The very same people that he's seen struggling with life's affairs, who just want to work, go to work, take care of their families. And then when rappers, come on, we played the video last week where they were shooting a movie. Let me explain to y'all, when you shoot a movie somewhere, everybody gets paid. The extras, the stores around. This man was extorting them. And on the video talking about, yeah, I'll make him check in. So if I don't give him no money, they gonna steal my equipment and maybe harm me? Chef C.
No, I was just saying, Q. I was just saying, man, again, you know, this particular activity is also a high for folks, right? They don't have to drink, smoke. It's just the life of it is a high for them. You understand? So even it's a high or it's a big determinant for other folks. Peace to everybody that's checking in. And I gotta tell you, I got plenty of friends that who decided to stay with this, and it cost fatally for them. You know, man, this shit, man. When I think of this shit, man, because I have one chef colleague of mine, one chef friend of mine, childhood friend of mine. Um, I don't know the way he went out. It seems like it had to be related. You know what I mean? It had to be gang related because he got shot 7 times in the car with his dad, and they got him out of there about a year and a half ago. And prior to that, he was one of the folks who I said that was definitely trying to get me into my chef shit. But um, I had opened a restaurant in New Jersey, and I brought him in to work for me. You know, he got a family and everything. So I said, you know what, come in here and get this work with me, man. I'm gonna show you what type of time I really been on since I've been in these streets. Y'all gonna see what it's about now, you know. So now he working with me, man, and it's crazy because you know by the time we stopped working at that restaurant, it was 5 stars. That restaurant made that restaurant 5 stars, and not not more than a year later, he gets gunned down in the car.
Mm.
Gunned down. This is a childhood friend of mine. 7 shots. His father in the passenger seat. They caught him at the stop sign. So I'm saying, and I thought he had left. He wasn't playing that game like that anymore. You know. But again, we look at this situation and it's A lot of times it's just all people know. Now I don't know uh, um, if he got busy like that himself, right? Or if it's somebody was the process was part of initiation or something like that for him, for whoever that was that got him out the way. But the brother leaves, a couple daughters and a son, you know, and that's the last memory I got of the dude is him working with me as a prep cook. Well, as a dishwasher, then he became my prep cook, and then I moved him to the artisanal pizza station. Taught him how to make pizzas. You know, that shit is just crazy to me because again, I look at the situation and I say whoever it could have been a Big U himself or minion that was sent off to get my homie out the way.
And even Chef C, let me ask you, in that scenario, when they investigated and they asked, and I'm quite sure you inquired about the family, um, very rare in our communities are acts random.
Correct.
Very rare when an individual, like, if you go to another area, like, I mean, two, three towns over, it's different. But when you're in the area that you're from, people know you. Very rare these acts are random. It's usually a retaliation. It's usually you and somebody had an old beef, or it's you and over a woman. It's very random acts in the inner cities of our communities. And honestly, when you look at how law enforcement handles it, they basically wipe their hands with investigating it.
That's and that right there. Lackadaisical, no real justice. There still has been no resolution to this, even to this day, sir.
And
Till
and
this
and,
day,
and respectfully to your friend Chef C, somebody knows something.
they always do,
But you
right?
know what we got in our communities, and listen, y'all, you are talking the person. I'm just a brother with a microphone and a computer. I grew up in the environments that we all come from. I done been through all the BS in the streets, in jail, all that stuff. It's a certain rule that I followed when I was in the street. It may not apply to you, and I get it. However, when acts are random, usually people say something. When acts aren't random, everybody shuts up. Everybody mind their business. Everybody don't get involved, but they know what's going on. They know. They know. When the big bully, like you said, Chef C, when that big bully finally get his head knocked off in your area, people know what it's for. People know what it's about because somebody had to serve him justice eventually. I'm not saying that happened with the case with your friend, but this is what, in reference to Big U, what we're talking about. 15 years. 15 years is not a 2-year run. Most guys in the street, y'all, when you do time, they give you a 3 to 5 year window before you back in jail. This man had a 3 to 5 year window before you recommit a crime and go back to jail. This man did time, came home, and had a 15-year run of unchecked behavior because he's institutionalized and nobody was checking for him.
And
Most people,
listen. I feel like the man's contract was up after the 15 years.
mm,
Yeah. Let's
yes,
unleash
sir.
this cat among his people so he can terrorize them, and then we'll go and pick him up at a later time.
Yeah. and sit his
Th-
big ass down.
yeah. That's, man, listen, you not gonna, man, that's a decade and some change that we know of. We're gonna stop playing like these folks don't know, man. Technology has been advanced before they released it to us. Technology has always been advanced. A lot of shit don't go on that this government doesn't know about. That part we need to stop playing about.
Hmm. And make no mistake about it, like what Chef C is saying. One of the things about coming home from prisons is a lot of states have a lot of different rules. I do not know much about California, but I do know that a lot of states, in order to get released for any type of crime, you have to go see a psychiatrist. The psychiatrist sometimes is just pushing paperwork. Um, are you a threat to yourself and others? Are you going to go home and do this? It's like 4 or 5 basic questions, and then they clear you. However, some states will clear you through the psychologist, or some states, excuse me, some states have, and a lot of states have this to have you civically committed, where the psychologist will say this man or this woman should not be released and should not be out in free society. In his case, he was a known gang member, and I know California has a bunch of different laws, a bunch of different things in regards to gang members, and if they have influence, do they have to denounce? Should they be affiliated with other gang members? And this is what Chef C is speaking about. Because if he was who they say he was prior to his release, how was he able to still be with known gang members and run around like this with impunity to terrorize his community?
Bingo. Come on, man. Like, we're not gonna play like this is we're not, listen, either they're gonna see Big U is, he serves a bigger objective. You need a Big U in those neighborhoods to drive the property value down. Okay? We're seeing nothing but heavy gentrification going on all over these places. Big U's are part of the bigger plan in every neighborhood. You need violence, gang activity to assist in the gentrification process of a neighborhood. Actually, a lot of times, folks like a Big U, they are the initiators. They start the process. Okay? And then you'll see, like, let me take you through something. Then you'll see, right? You'll see a police trailer get put in the neighborhood, right? To try to quote unquote have a police presence. Man, get the hell out of here. Do y'all know what that police presence is? The police presence, ladies and gentlemen, is to cooperate with the Big U to get status updates. We're gonna stop playing, man.
And then what happens is, like you said, they have the mobile police unit, they have the wooden barricades, and most people may not even understand that your community is basically under house arrest.
Bingo. Your community is being
Well,
surveilled. How, right? Okay. How many more people are afraid to come out of their neighborhoods? How many more people have gotten to the point where they're not seeing no real proficient reactions to their calls for or pleas for help when it comes to the violence? I'm telling y'all as a person who saw the gentrification of where I have my garden in Paterson, New Jersey. Okay? While I was out there trying to serve up soups, ladies and gentlemen, give and show folks how to pickle watermelon rinds and shit that's being grown out of my garden, I had better make sure my black ass was out of there by 5 a.m. I mean 5 p.m. If I wasn't, that neighborhood turned into the wild wild
Now,
west,
now,
y'all.
now, let me ask you, Chef C, right? And Negro, I'm glad. I see that you had kept dropping, so you back. Glad you back. I know you ready to spit and explain this diagram that you had sent me. Just one second, Chef C. Let me ask you a question in regards to your garden. Is the garden in the neighborhood where you come from?
It's literally 3 houses over where I lived as a child.
Everybody knows you.
Most people are familiar with me.
So you would be someone who came from the community who, as they say, did good for yourself and should be held in high esteem, a star, and you still had to basically pack your shit up by 5 o'clock and get on up out of there.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Now, let me tell you something. Cute. Listen, I'm gonna make it plain for folks, and I would love for this to be capped, but it's just not. Right? Everybody ain't ready for the change that you've seen or been able to accomplish for yourself.
Say that again, please.
I said everybody not ready for the change that you've seen or accomplished for yourself. So again, even with having done the things that I do in the community, which to be very clear, a lot of the original residents for which we developed that garden for no longer reside there, y'all, because the gangs and the wild wild west culture that had developed there served its purpose. Shout out to Big U. A lot of the black American communities that were there are no longer there now. So now we are in a position where we are servicing a bunch of others now, with a handful of black Americans still being there. Brother Negro saw it. Brother Negro, a shout out to him. He came up and he helped us give out 200 Christmas toys
So
just this
you so
past
so
Christmas.
so your organization, the area that you grew up in, is in the area that you grew up in,
Right.
and this was something that was dear to your heart because you felt as though this need best serves where you come from, and because of how the community has regressed far as the people you know,
Mm-hmm.
all the violence, the grandmas, the aunties, the uncles, the because I know where you from, the poppies you grew up with, that community, that area where y'all knew people all the way back to your grandmothers, what you call it, worked at the hospital when you was born, people that knew you before you knew yourself,
Mm-hmm.
literally is no longer the same community because the kids in the community terrorize their own.
Uh, Within the last 5 years, a good amount of that population has been moved out via gentrification, and essentially now the area is full of Latinos now. So they've ushered in a little Havana now and built it around our garden
Let me ask you a question before I get to Brother Negro. Do they have a Bravo there yet?
down the street.
Okay. And a C
It's
town?
over.
It's
It's
over.
over.
It's over once the Bravo comes. Brother
Soon as
Negro.
you, as soon as you get a Bravo, it's cooked.
It's Brother Negro.
Yes, sir.
You explained this to me earlier. Explain this to the chat in the diagram, and explain to the chat your educational background on what you've seen with doing some research on Big U and being able to take what you have learned from your educational background and explain this pyramid, please.
Yes, sir. No problem. What you see, what you guys are seeing right in front of you guys is what they call a fraud triangle. There are three elements that make up a fraud. The three elements that always make up a fraud would be pressure, opportunity, and rationale. So what I did was looked at those three principles, right, and then applied it to the Big U's case. So some of the things that I've noticed was the pressure of or the initiative is making Negro black artists check in for protection. That's the pressure right there that we're talking about. The opportunity, unprotected artists in new areas performing or visible targets to be extorted based on their wealth and status. Then the rationale is the artists take their they take their assistance or security to avoid extorting, beating, sexual traffic, shooting, murder by extorters. So that's kind of the fraud scheme in which this brother or this guy was operating from. The reason why I call it
Mm.
extortion, check in anti-black American, because he specifically target black American people with this type of fraud. He wasn't doing this with white folks' family. He wasn't doing this with Latinos' family. And he was not doing this with white folks. He was specifically doing it with black folks because he knew the culture and it was easy to exploit us. Why was it easy to exploit us? There's many different factors. I want to, and I'll read the bottom part too. I want to tap in a little bit to what Chef was saying. I just put it in the article, put it in the chat bubble for you, Q, saying that these immigrants and these Latinos were 3 to 1 in the HUD houses. So they were out here pumping these dudes out into our neighborhoods, taking up spaces, so which skyrocket our homeless rates. So I have that article up in there for later that we can revisit. But I do want to highlight that this is the same junk that they've done in my neighborhood that I used to live in, New London. And but the thing is, they used more or less the fiends, the dope fiends, and the what do you call it, those methadone clinics to gentrify our people out to the
Let
point
me
now you got to. Yes, sir.
let me ask you a question, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't I'm glad you went there, but I wanna in for lack of better words, s- uh give us some appetizers first, right?
Okay.
Before you get to the main course. Explain to us, like you said, this pyramid of fraud scheme concept, and I know that myself and Chef C, and I hope everybody in the chat really appreciates how you explain this. Give us some context to your background, your educational background, brother Negro.
Yep, yep. I have a master's in investigation, so I've learned about different investigative strategies that law enforcement has. Instead of me going to the police force and like screwing over black folks, that's just not my MO. I see that there's a lot of crimes that's out there that doesn't get the care that it needs. I'm just gonna keep it 1,000. Like people don't care about our people that were lynched that were put on postcards. People don't see the
So
value.
you have a criminal justice uh back.
Master's degree.
You have a
I have a
master's degree.
master's and I also have an associate's degree in criminal justice enforcement. So
Oh,
from an academic standpoint, I have a good understanding about the criminal justice system to a certain extent.
okay.
Comes from
From
an investigative and a
from an investigation aspect and from a criminal, because you basically have to understand, and in the modules that you learned in school was understanding criminal behavior, like what makes a person commit a crime, and like you said in the pyramid, of the rationale, how you will
Mhm.
rationalization in your mind, like a person, like for example, like I said earlier, a person commits a crime. Now, you have to case study this. You and your fellow students have to case study this. You need means, motive, opportunity, and they try to understand the rational thinking of why a person would do what they do, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Because that's what they call the modus ombra, if I
Mhm.
pronounce it right,
Yeah,
which is
modus
when it,
operandi.
yeah, yeah, but they'll, no, I'll just say the motive, just to put it to like the common man, because I don't like speaking above my people. I want to walk with my people.
It's
So
Latin, sir. That's all.
yeah, yeah, I'm bro, I'm not, I'm stick to English.
You a Negro. You gonna stick to
Yeah,
stick to Negro.
yeah, I'm gonna stick to Negro stuff. So, but the point that I want to highlight is that if you don't have a motive, then you don't have a case,
Mm,
and you can't what that is like the bloodline of your case, and if you don't have that and build around that and have the evidence to support that claim, which they consider circumstantial evidence and various different forms of evidence to support what they're talking about, then you might as well throw the case out the window. But the ending part that I want to add in is the description that I have about this fraud triangle that you see, that people will see on the far left hand side. It says the anti-black and Negro hate crime extortion scheme against Negro Black Americans in the hip hop slash rap artists is a check in fraud scheme. It's used to deprive Black people from our community from their wealth based on proximity to the Black American culture, which is hip hop. The reason why it goes unpunished and poorly investigated is to uphold white business practice over Negro Black community standards.
Bingo.
So these are these what we're talking about here, and I forgot to say my minor. I do have a minor in sociology. Ain't no Dr. Umar, but at one time he did inspire me to know a little bit about sociology because it goes hand in hand with criminology and the study of why criminals do the things they do in our community. But nobody never really wants to understand. See, they have sketches and stuff that they make up. But I'm really creating something that's really happening to our people that we're really going through. You know what I mean? And this is why I have an issue with a lot of these criminal justice classes because they never see us as the victims ever. Out of all the criminal justice courses I've taken, I had to argue people down to prove that we are victims in the system of white degeneracy. Shout out to my man Chef. So those are this is what I'm talking about here in regards to the fraud scheme that this man is acting like he's going to even provide protection for these artists, and they're still getting extorted. See, that's the other aspect that nobody's not really talking about. Some of these people actually complied and said, "Know what? You got me. It is what it is. Here's the bag," and he's still harming and beating up and murdering and killing these people, Black folks. Sound like white supremacy to me. Sound like he's upholding those type of things or has some hatred towards Black people who have money. Like seeing this, it kind of hits home because he, when we think of business, I look at business as a community that is supporting that institution. How can you how can you really support an institution with these type of thugs running around here extorting you, no different from the Mexican, no different from the Chinese, and no different from any of these other immigrants and whatnot. And that's the problem that I see here. This dude is not running this fraud on anybody else but our people because we don't have the guns like that. We don't have the money like that. And we don't have the police officers that got our backs like that. But they got this guy's back like that. And that's the problem that I see here with this stuff. And why I get so frustrated with it because they're killing the next person that could cure cancer. They're killing the next civil rights leader. They're killing the next lawyer. That's what they're doing in these neighborhoods.
Well, watch this, brother Negro.
Go ahead.
There's a such thing as the story of Robin Hood, and then there's just robbing in the hood.
Oh,
Okay,
he's a Robin in the hood, all right.
so again, Robin in the hood does no good for the hood. So this is why I say when I look at a Big U and says, I hope the people that say they're gonna help me actually still help me, pray for my family, etc., etc. I'm like, man, listen. You was supposed to you was supposed to have prayers up a long time ago for all of them people that you done ran some bullshit on. So again, these folks aren't allowed to exist in these communities without support, right? They're getting support not only from the little goonies that fear them, but also in collaboration with the system of white degeneracy that supports them, elevates them, shelters them, right?
Aiding and abet them.
Incentivizes them. Okay? That is a contract. See, everybody could talk about the bullshit show and kind of glamorize it. Snowfall. How many of y'all seen Snowfall, family? Okay. But Franklin was a degenerate who worked with the government. But you let a network put a program like that get together to say that, oh, we were supposed to, he did so well by the community. No. Big U ain't got to be big in order to be doing some useless shit in the community.
Why none of the celebrities said to Big U, look, stop what you're doing. I'm going to make you my security. Head of my security for when I go travel around America. None of those athletes decided to hire him to be security when they travel. They knew.
Because they're anti-black themselves. That's one aspect, and the other thing is he's a liability. Me being in security for 10 plus years, he already has a record, so he can't do security this day and age. It used to be back in the time frame, if you had a little stain on your record, they'll let it slide. But they don't want to have anything that's associated with criminality when it comes to security. Now, I'm just telling you, for 10 years in the game, they don't want that. They don't want to have his problem because he's a liability. He's the type that's gonna get things clapped up, if you get what I mean. What like he's not. I would not hire him on my detail. I'm just gonna keep it 1,000 with you.
So what we're gonna reset the show and explain to everybody that may have came in late. The question is Big U institutionalized? And earlier this week, like I said, he was charged with another 43 count superseding indictment. And in this superseding indictment, they alleged that Big U, through the video when he was with his family going to turn himself in, they used this video as something, as they say, anything you can say can and will be used against you in a court of law. They said that this video that I'm gonna play was a means of intimidation, jury pool, tampering, basically trying to get a sympathetic jury because he was basically already indicted for some charges. So he was trying to appeal on the masses with his charm and advocacy. So the video's long. We're just gonna take a break, but I'm gonna play the video so we can get out of the video and maybe be able to look at the whole video and understand what's being said and what's not being said.
Last video before I turned myself in, I'm with my family. Talk to my sons, I talk to everybody, man. I'm just saying, going to deal with this fight, see what it is. I just want y'all to know, all this stuff is quagmire. Shit is all bull crap. I just need y'all prayers. I need y'all to I don't even know what to say. Now, 21 years, I've elevated my family, come back, sit in here and write and do what I need to do until I can come back home. People are supposed to help me. I hope you help me. If you can't, you don't worry about it. A lot of stuff y'all hearing is straight trash. And I appreciate the love and I appreciate the people who've been helping me. I don't know. It's hard helping black people and not being hunted for doing it.
First Street, it might be to, I don't know if it's to the right or the left.
Reach out to anybody who can help me, y'all.
You hear me?
Help my own family. Appreciate y'all. Go. I'm looking at this video as I come in to turn myself in, and I'm disheartened by the fact that they trying to say that I stole something from Developing Option, or I used Developing Option as a front. Developing Option paid my bills. They paid my house note. They paid the bills for my family, the money I made from as an employee for Developing Option. I never mixed that with nothing. I didn't manipulate nobody. I didn't steal nothing. We did PPP loans. We did 2 loans. And that's it, just like everybody else did. I didn't use no fraud. I didn't give none of no fake names. And one of them we was paying back and one they forgave. You know what I mean? And the other one we attempted for and they didn't give us nothing for it. I filed my taxes and them coming around telling me I was using Developing Option as a cover. Cover for what? None of that's going to be true. None of that's going to be true. The government putting this big ass picture and they going to arrest 21 dudes. Some dudes I don't even talk to. I don't even know nothing about. So how the hell you going to lump me in with all them? But it's all the big picture though. It's all the big picture. Now I'm finna be sitting in here. It's gonna be years out of my life. Then you going to get dudes who I don't even talk to. What they gonna say? You ruining people's lives. I heard it's over 21 people that's been arrested. This shit wrong. It is what it is. Church, just pray for me. Just pray for me, pray for my family. And you look at what we did. You look at what I did. I've been home 21 years. It ain't over though. That's what it's not. Blessings. I'm looking at all these charges on the news. I'm headed back to LA. And then I'm looking at the people they arrested. How you gonna go arrest people that I don't even talk to? That's a built-in liar right there. You know what I mean? So, is that how they gonna work the case? Everybody know I don't fuck with Cannon. Everybody know I don't fuck with Brick Baby. So if you went to arrest certain dudes, and put them next to me, them is the dudes you gonna have to call themselves turning against me. Well, ain't no turning against me. I ain't going for that. You might as well go get 600 and whack. These dudes been saying I did shit all year. So what they doing is they go on the internet and these dudes say that I did shit on the internet. Then when you say I did on the internet, they go investigate it. Now you raiding my houses, raiding my shops, raiding all this stuff. And talking about I'm committing crimes and covering up with Developing Option. What crimes am I committing to cover up with Developing Option? You know what I'm saying? I ain't committed no crimes and covered nothing up with Developing Option. This shit crazy. But this how they get you. They get 1 or 2 people to say something. Ain't gonna be no real evidence. Ain't gonna be no real nothing. It's gonna be a repeated thug. It's gonna be a bunch of people in jail for a bunch of different crimes that don't have nothing to do with me. They finna lump all of us up and say it's all around the 60s. Watch and see. We just seen it with Thug. I'm finna experience the same thing out here. I knew it was coming. Now they on there saying all this stuff to assassinate my character. All right, man, just pray for me. And again, they can do any one of us. It ain't nobody safe with these dudes. If these dudes feel they want you, how they going around talking about somebody's gonna raid my house before my house get raided? How they there with the police? And y'all sitting there following them. Everybody that's a part of them shows, and 100 shows, and all them shows, and y'all need to, everybody who following them, promoting them, anything. Y'all wrong. Y'all ain't black. And y'all show ain't for our people. They can put charges against anybody. So this is gonna probably be my last video. I'm gonna go turn myself in to see what's going on. They talking about I'm a fugitive. So they just raided all my houses. 600 was actually with the police when they raided my house. And he's actually got video and footage of it. So y'all know what y'all dealing with. And I just want to say this to y'all. When they raided my houses and my property, they was asking about whack. Whack, loose cannon, 600, and this internet stuff. All of y'all filed. All y'all who be sending shit around the internet, all y'all who be promoting and listening to what these niggas saying, all y'all giving these likes and hidden likes, all y'all supporting this. All y'all guilty of this fuck shit. If you had something against a black man, you should handle it with a black man in the streets. Wack said 100 times he was gonna take my contracts. He working with the FBI. The FBI went to the city 3 days in a row and told the city they didn't want nobody to give me no more money. They went to all the different celebrities and told all the different celebrities, don't give me no money, don't help me, don't do nothing for me. They going around scaring and intimidating everybody. But y'all sitting it around getting people in trouble. Like y'all don't understand what the FBI do to black men who try to help their community. I ain't been nothing but a help to our community. But I guess it is what it is. This the price of being black and trying to help somebody, trying to help your community and do what you can. You just guilty because somebody else don't like you and they can go on the internet and do what the fuck they want to and y'all gonna promote it. It's crazy. But I'm going to go turn myself in though. Cause I ain't did nothing. This fact is, man, they done went to my house, kicked my houses in, bust my doors down, bust my windows. They calling my son at his football practice, threatening him. You know what I mean? These dudes tagging him. What kind of shit is this? But y'all gonna be rolling with these dudes. And I got this last thing to say. Wax said he was gonna destroy developing option, right? So who gonna replace developing option? Which one of you fuck niggas in the 60s gonna call yourself coming in? Because whoever try to come in, y'all the ones that's working with Wack. Believe that. So remove me to get me out the way for somebody else to come in who gonna cooperate. That's what the play is. That's what the whole play is. I'm out. I'm gonna send y'all videos to put up, all of them until they lock me up.
Mama, I love you. That's what he sound like.
Black trauma is big business. Now he's talking about this is what happens when you try to do something for black people. But you've been terrorizing black people for the last 15 years that we know about. I see what the feds is saying with this video and saying how he tried to intimidate because he threw names out there. And basically, this is what they're saying he's doing. He's using his influence to intimidate people, to scare people, to make them feel like he's going to do bodily harm to them. Chef C, after seeing the video for the fifth, sixth time, what's your thoughts, brother? Chef C's not here right now. Brother Negro. He dropped. Chef C, you there? Okay, Chef C might have stepped away. You guys, so you guys in the chat, what are y'all thoughts on seeing this whole video? Oh, there
Pardon
goes
me,
Chef C.
Q. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I played the
Can you
whole
hear me,
9 minutes.
Q?
Yeah, I can hear you well. I can hear you, Chef
Yeah,
C.
man. When it comes to this nonsense, okay. I was saying when it come to this nonsense, Q, the dude said, he said, see how they try to help black folks. When you try to help black folks, you see how they do us. You know, it's all black power now, but you was extorting black folks, weren't you? What the? This is the craziest shit. The shit is hilarious to me, man. Oh, they throwing all my stuff around in my properties. They doing us dirty. Black folks always trying to do something. Man, listen. They say you can't work with the folks or whatever. He's a dirty dude. He's a dirty dude. This cat is getting everything he need, and I don't think it's enough. I think he needs to get. It's got to be life from here on out. Don't let him out. Lock him down. That's where I'm coming from with it.
Wait, you
You
giving
guys,
him the good
you,
night treatment?
you guys in the chat, what do you think will be the end of Big U? Um, do y'all think he's guilty, not guilty? Because I know the question that I pinned was, do y'all think he's institutionalized? And I know the sister asked, what does institutionalized mean? And I had explained earlier how you don't have to be incarcerated or in the institution to be institutionalized. It's a set pattern in the behavior that a person has. Big U, from what we know, has continued his criminality behavior, and you know, with what we presented, should be more than enough to understand what it means and how we're using a certain criteria to really describe this individual who, like Chef C said, we know big U's and bullies and, as we would say, gangsters in every community. And usually they have this type of ending if they're not being murdered in the street. So, what do you guys in the chat think? What were you about to say, Brother Negro?
My thoughts of it is he had no remorse.
Mm.
He doesn't have any. He had no remorse. He was focused on covering his dirt, and he was doing to get less time. So he needs as much time. Give him the Suge Knight treatment. That's where I'm kind of at.
So his big ass need to be sat down somewhere for good.
Yeah, he need them heels. You need to cool his heels for a minute, for a good minute.
Yeah, what is unfortunate is that they have unfortunately cages, structures for what they will consider subhuman and will treat you less than a human being, will treat you like an animal, and in some cases they treat their pets better. Um like Sister Star say, you reap what you sow. We in our community need to really look at Big U and use him as a case study because he won't be the first. He wasn't the first, excuse me, and he won't be the last. And at a certain point, we have to say, where I'm from, the bullies get bullied and they get dealt with. Because if we don't police our own communities, we don't deal with our own communities, someone else will come and check us. And like Brother Negroes and Chef C explained so eloquently, these guys aid and abet and uphold white supremacy. So hope that you guys appreciate what we presented tonight. Um, we're gonna close out the show. We didn't want to be too late, But hopefully tomorrow we'll be back again, and we'll discuss some things and maybe do some more to this. And because this is layered with a whole bunch of different aspects of, unfortunately, a culture that's within our culture. Um, and it needs further discussion and or um, some more deep diving into it. Uh, any final thoughts, gentlemen?
For I'll start off with me. For those that are interested, I have my book signing on the 19th of April at Barnes and not Barnes, Black and Noble. For those that are interested, you can visit the Delineationology X page that we have on X. It has all our upcoming book signings that we're going to have all throughout the United States eventually. But
Mm.
right now, the first one is going to be in Philly, 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 Philly.
That's great, brother Negro. And I ask everybody in the chat, please support the brother. Sometimes we do a lot of complaining, and rightfully so. Sometimes we should complain, right? You know. However, we want to be those type of people who are solution based, and there is a brother from amongst us who loves his people. He loves Black Americans, who has decided to do some investigative work and understand why we need to separate ourselves from other people in the diaspora. Um, Not just physically, because it's not a physical thing, it's a mindset and understanding that everybody, the human race, everybody needs to be proud of who they are, where they come from, the history that comes with it, right, wrong, and indifferent. And Black Americans, um, we have a unique history, but we have a history that we should also be proud of. And we should be caretakers of our history and experience in America. Um, and we need to really, really look at that. The brother asked Brother Negro, when in Philly, what date?
I believe it's going to be April the 19th for the brother Negro.
Yep, April 19th. This will be a Saturday. From the time frame, it'll be like from 1 to 8, 1 p.m. to 8. I'm trying to stay out there all day and sell as many books, educate people on what delineationology is, and definitely you know Philly's the Pan African hub, right? So I'm going
Yeah.
look out Dr.
Belly of the
Umar, look out.
the belly of the beast.
Brother Negro, one of the his names is the Negro Knight. I hope he does not have to have his sword with him while he's
Hey,
out
them
there.
panties. You might have to cut a panty with that sword, brother Negro.
I don't think it's. I think I'm gonna end up convincing them to making them believers of delineation after I'm done with them.
So how else can a person purchase your book that may not be able to get at your book signing, Brother Negro?
Okay, that's a great question. I do have the link. What I could do is I could put that up in the box right now for you, so you guys can have that. And you can purchase it on Book Barn, I think, or something like that. It will be on Amazon sooner or later. But also, if you guys want to email 10 bucks or not email, you can cash out $10 to the $10 to Delineationology with your email address. I can also email digital copies to those that are interested. So either or, you can get it digitally, or you can get it on our soft covers for $20. I'll be more than glad to help out. So thank you for the brother for that. So please check out Delineationology. This is the new investigative science underneath the sun. We got our own science specific for us to help us spot the frauds amongst us. You know, that's ripping us off, that's harming us. We going deeper than Black Lives Matter right now. Black Lives Matter was just the surface. What we doing over here is gonna kind of shut that all down for the future.
Chef C, any final thoughts and updates?
Well, I definitely want to salute the brother Negro for his first book. He's also, writing his second book as well. So I definitely want to salute this young man. Uh, I'm very proud of him. I'm very proud of the brother. Salute to you as well, brother Q, for pulling the program together tonight. Definitely appreciate it, man. And this is definitely a conversation that requires more discussion. More discussion. We got the Wolf in there. Salute to the brother Wolf. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, he was missed, man. The wolf is missed.
Yes, indeed. But so yeah, yeah, yeah. So I will say this. What I have coming down the pipeline, ladies and gentlemen. Again, we are doing pretty decent with the subscriptions on my alternate channel. I want y'all to slide over there to cook up. I done dropped some Wagyu beef over there with the spice rub, y'all. All right, I done dropped some filet mignon with the truffle herb butter. I'm doing little clips, man. I need to go live, family. So I need y'all over there to go ahead and subscribe to that. I will probably do a live tomorrow, and then we're gonna try to spin the block for a Pat Talk as well in the afternoon. So we just gotta figure out the time for that. I'll keep you posted. Y'all see it in the notifications. If we decide to make that thing happen, and I can get all the brothers in there for that conversation. But you can also expect some kind of live from me tomorrow, though. Uh, Doing part number 4, I believe, of Meet to Marry reaction. So keep it locked for that, y'all. All right. And we got more things coming down the pipeline, of course, in the near future. So definitely keep it locked. And also, like I said, remember, subscribe to my alternate channel, The Cook Up with Chef C. Appreciate y'all, man.
And it,
Salute.
and though we may not say it enough, but it's very important to like, share, subscribe. It will perhaps push us out into what we call the YouTube algorithm, and more people get aware of our channels and to get aware of what we're doing. And we're always open to suggestions. We always got our email addresses up there, and it's very important that at the minimum, that's the best that we ask for the support is to like, share, subscribe, and really try to help us do what we're doing and assist us. Nobody's like or comment is ever taken for granted, even if you disagree with us. We always understand and we get it. I'll just say in closing, in reference to the topic, because you may have a son, daughter, mother, father, uncle, aunt, someone who has been incarcerated. Um, when they come back home from society, not that you are required to, however, to allow them to transition properly, um, make things a little easier for them, or perhaps assist them because they may have been traumatized um, and they may be institutionalized. They may come home and have a routine, and you be like, "Oh, you got a routine and this type of routine," but they might not be able to adapt to free society. One of the movies that we loved dearly was Shawshank Redemption, and you remember what Brooks did? He couldn't adapt. He was in the supermarket asking his manager every 5 minutes, "Could I go to the bathroom?" These are little subtle things that makes an individual institutionalized. So, with that, not to be a Debbie Downer right now, appreciate you guys in the chat. Remember, like, share, subscribe. Until the next time, take care and have a good one.